And we were all just like,
he did it! It's happening!
It sounded so good. And
say your name and fan out.
Why do we need to say our names?
Because it looks great in the highlight reel.
That's going to be a wrap.
What's up, guys? My name's Joe, host of the Lightweights Podcast. Today we have star of the Thundermans on Nickelodeon, Jack Griffo.
What's going on? I could literally time travel back to when we were 16.
the super speeds and the freeze breath and heat breath. Kira actually graduated before me.
The Thundermans ran on Nickelodeon for 4 seasons with 98 episodes. They just came back with their brand new movie on Paramount Plus. Jack's killing it out here, and he gave us a behind-the-scenes look of the movie, of the television show, and all of his acting career.
So there's a crazy story with Sharknado.
So if you haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much for being here. Give this video a like, and please enjoy Jack Griffo. I'm so thrilled that you got AJ Perdomo on one of your songs.
Yeah.
That's so sick.
He's sick.
Have you always been a fan of Dangerous Summer?
So I got turned on Dangerous Summer a couple years ago by a friend and started listening to them, and I love their music like so much. And let's see, I'll have to think about how I actually made the connection with AJ. Oh yeah, this is a great story. In 2022, my band started playing around LA. We've been kind of rocking since like 2020 or so, but we just did stuff like on our own time. We did little sessions and like backyard stuff for like a small group of friends, you know. And then in 2022 we started doing like club gigs, and like a friend just asked me if we were available around Halloween, and we opened for the Dangerous Summer at the Roxy. And it was like, you know, the Roxy was really cool for us at the time. We hadn't really done a venue like that before. And we met the guys, and they were all just so cool. Like, they're just bros. Like, they're just such cool guys. And I do a pretty good AJ. Do you know AJ? Have you met him?
Never met him, but I remember when their first EP came out in like 2010, 2008. And I was such a fan of it, and I bought that. I bought the follow-up EP, and they're just so good.
Bro, AJ, he's like the coolest guy, because like literally he's just like so positive all the time. And he's like that guy who's been in bands since he was 17. He's been on our label since he was really young, and he's just, you know, just a cool guy, and he makes great music. And so yeah, so we opened for him. We kind of started the relationship there. And I sent him our song that we released back in September, and I was like, you know, we think that this would be a kind of a good fit. And he like sent me back like a verse like the next day, and we were all just like,
he did it! It's happening!
It sounded so good, and so it just really elevated the song so much. We were really excited about it.
And that's for Kid Baron.
Yeah.
Your new band that you've been, how long have you guys been together for?
4 years. So kind of new. I mean, we're taking it slow. Like, acting is my number one, and I kind of just throw a little fuel on the fire whenever I can for music. And it was really awesome for me to have music during the pandemic, because, you know, I grew up always acting, and all of a sudden in 2020, all of that just stopped, and I really had a lot of time on my hands. I've always wanted to get into music, never been in a band before, and I had a lot of kind of musician friends around me that I always said like I would start a band with if I had the time. And it's just been this beautiful thing for me these past couple of years. I learned a lot about myself, a lot about expressing myself. It's totally changed the way that I look at art in so many ways. And, you know, it's very similar to acting in a way, but totally different in others. So they've now become like my two things that I kind of just, whatever I need at the time, whatever I need to kind of put more focus on, I'll put more focus on. If acting's kind of slow, I'll do a little more writing sessions, and I'll try to move Kid Baron forward a little bit. But yeah, those are my two things. Yeah.
Have you ever done any writing sessions with anyone else in the scene?
Yeah, for sure. One of my favorite collaborators is Colin Deedon. He goes by Little Hurt, and he's got some amazing songs, man. You should check him out. But it's been great. I've definitely met a lot of like cool cats and players in the music scene in LA. Just like, I kind of knew some people on the outskirts of it even before I was in music myself. But once you start like putting music out, like, it's a small town, and like people talk about everything, and once you put a few singles out, like, people kind of know like who you are and what you're doing a little bit. And so yeah, I really just got into that whole circle around like 2021, 2022, and I just have all these new friends, and it made my life, so much more vibrant and so much more colorful. And not that like actors in the acting community are bad or anything. Like I grew up, in the same sort of rat race as a lot of these guys. A lot of my really close friends. I just turned this off. I don't know what's going on. I have the new phone. It has like a new button on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to make it go silent. But I was just always friends with actors, and I love that, and I'm still friends with a lot of my actor friends, most of them, but now I've kind of gotten into this music scene, and everyone's just so cool, and everyone wants to help each other, and everyone wants to get better, and it's beautiful.
It's so fun going from different friend groups, especially from like a group of actors to a group of musicians, just to hear the conversations so different.
Yeah, but we're all striving for the same thing. It's amazing because, I've been out here like going on like 14 years.
Is it home to you?
Absolutely. Yeah, this place is definitely home to me, and I'm from Orlando, and I go back every so often. But what I love about LA, and a place like LA, a place like New York City, like we all have our dreams. You know what I mean? And most times you have to have your sort of day job, your sort of thing that like keeps the lights on, keeps you going, but you got to keep going for that dream. And like being out here since I was 13, like I've seen so many people come and go. Like so many people come, think it's going to be easy, or just come and just can't make it work, and have to go home. And, what I tell people, and I talk about this all the time with my friends, it's like, it's such a competitive business that the key really is you just can't give up on it. You have to like keep grinding on your goals and your dreams. And I saw Neil Patrick Harris talking in an interview about this industry's kind of like catching waves, like as a surfer. Like I'm probably gonna butcher it now, but I only heard him say it once. But basically that like you have to paddle out. You have to paddle out above all these waves and kind of go over them and wait for the wave, and it might take a long time, but then you catch the wave, you ride the wave, and then it crashes, and then you got to paddle back out, and you got to hit more waves in the face, and then you're out there again, you're waiting, and then it comes again. So it's like this. It comes and it goes. A lot of my friends will be having a big moment, my friends on this movie, oh, it's their turn, they're having a moment, I'm supporting them, I love that, and then they kind of cool off, and then another friend has their big moment, and it's beautiful. Like I love this community, I love being here, and it's a cool place for a kid like me who's from Florida, and not a lot of people in my circle in Florida really did what I was doing, and it was obvious that like this was like a good place for me. Yeah.
If there was a pie chart of the future of your career, how much of it would be music, how much of it would be acting, and what would the other part be?
That's tough. I think acting will always like kind of be like is my first love, and it probably will always be my number one. I don't know though. For a while I said 50-50, because when the pandemic happened, it was much more music. I really put a lot of effort in to kind of get the ball rolling on that. And then this past year, like acting's kind of picked up again, but then we had the strike, and so I kind of went back to music, but then the strike is over now, and so got some more auditions and getting in rooms now again. It's been a long time since I've been in rooms. Everything's self-tape nowadays, and so now it feels like I need to put more attention on acting. I've been in this great acting class for the past year and a half that I fucking love. Like seriously, I've done a lot of class and a lot of curriculums and techniques, and this one is just working for me like so much better than anything else has ever worked for me. And so I just feel my work deepening, and I feel myself getting closer to the kind of acting that I want to do, because Nickelodeon gave me so much opportunity, and like got to travel the world, and I learned so much and met so many people. But you have to kind of grow, and you have to expand, and I want to be an actor for a long time. I want to have range, I want to have longevity, and to do that you can't just kind of sit around and like bank on the experience and knowledge that you have. Like just like in anything, like if you don't train in something, it's probably not going to go anywhere. Like there's people that are like naturals or whatever, and that's like very rare, but most times, just like in anything, like you have to like work at what you're doing. Like, you know, Kobe didn't become Kobe by like just going to practice and leaving. Like, he would always say, like, you know, why would I pass the ball to the guys that just show up to practice and leave right when it ends, you know?
When you're talking about range, would you say from you doing Nickelodeon to now you doing a horror movie, like Stay at Home? You want those different genres that challenge your abilities?
A movie like Stay at Home was definitely in the right direction. You know, it's a little bit more adult, and it's a little bit more something that I'd like to be seen in. But I'm talking like more drastic. Like, I want to do drama. Like, I want to bare my soul. You know what I mean? Like, and it's hard. Like, especially as guys, like we're kind of conditioned to be strong. You know, and that vulnerability is really the place that we want to live in. You know, we want people to, you know, telling story is all about like getting people to have that experience, you know what I mean, through the lens, you know what I mean, and in the audience, in the movie theater, like, and that really can't happen if you're having your guard up, you know. And my whole life, at least, like, you know, just like I feel like, you know, I'm 27, and I feel like a lot of our boomer parents and men especially are very, you know, cut and dry, and it's very like provide for family, and, you know, don't ask any questions, you know, don't be strong, you know. So like I think I saw my dad like cry like twice, you know, like in my whole life. And when you don't see that as a kid, you know, all the things you learn as a kid make you who you are. And so it's hard to break past all of this years of armor that we've put up, but I'm loving that process. Like, I'm having just a lot of time in class. Like I said, I just love this class, and I love my teacher so much. I'm learning so much, and it feels good to like to cry. You know, it feels good to like let these pent up emotions out, and it feels it's like horrific and amazing at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, it's not fun, but you know this, like, that's what you're after. And so it's awesome.
If you're crying on command, do you have a trigger in your brain of what you have to think about?
It's not an on command thing, at least for me. I'm sure a lot of people can just like turn the switch, but like I'm not that good, I guess. No, it takes a lot of like right now in class, like we'll do a scene for 4 weeks in a row. We'll live with the scene for a month. And usually by like sometimes by week 2, but like usually by like week 3 it gets deeper. You know what I mean?
What was the feeling like when you saw the Thundermans set for the first time after 6 years?
A mix of emotions, you know. It felt surreal, you know, because we had been talking about it for a couple of years and didn't really know what it would look like and what the script would be like, whether it'd be single camera, whether it'd be multi-camera, whether we'd be back in the house or not, or it'd be a new set. And so the fact that it was the living room, you know, like our kind of tried and true set that we loved, it was just cool. It was so I felt lucky that the fans watched it on Netflix when it went on Netflix, and that's pretty much why we got the movie, because there was this whole new resurgence of viewership. And you know, I've been living with this character for 10 years, and how lucky am I, you know? Like, this stuff doesn't happen, you know. This stuff really doesn't happen. And the fact that we were all able to come back, all the cast members, we had, you know, a lot of guest cast come back too. But just being, it was like going back to high school, you know what I mean? Like, I can imagine, you know, I didn't go to high school, but like a reunion, you know, like those walls, those hallways, like, you know, we were on Paramount. We weren't on the same stage, but we were on Paramount, and it was incredible. You know, I rolled up to the security gate, and like the same dudes running it, and like I was like, I'm back, you know. But and it was cool, and it turned out really good, and I'm glad that we were able to give fans like more of the story, and who knows, maybe we'll even do more. We'll see.
Did it bring back a feeling of that very first time you went to the set?
Yeah, definitely. It brought me back to when I was, you know, 16 or so. And that's always interesting too. Like, you know, you realize how much time has passed and how the years just go faster and faster as you get older, man. And it really just makes you appreciate the moment, you know, and the time that we have. And it's so easy to get caught up, especially as a kid. Like, if I would say anything to kids, it's like, don't rush getting old, man. Like, just be a kid as long as you can. Because while there's great things about being like a functioning adult, you get to make your own choices and all that, you have to make your own choices and all that, you know what I mean? It's like it becomes a lot harder and yeah, but it did make me feel like a kid again. That's probably the main thing. It just made me feel like I was a child, and it was awesome.
I mean, 103 episodes is so unheard of, and now it's a legacy show too.
Yeah.
Was the boom gradual, and then the resurgence happened from Netflix?
The boom was kind of from the Netflix thing, like it going on Netflix. It was like in the top 10 for a while, and a lot of new people who had, you know, not heard of the show saw it, and kids who were kind of at the very bottom end of like the demographic saw it for the first time. And our show is really big in co-viewing. I forget what it's called. I think it's called co-viewing, but basically when parents and the whole families watch. And so I think there was a lot of that when it went on Netflix. I think like not even all the seasons are on there. Like it's they put like the first 2 on there, and then they took the first 2 off, and I think now just like the 3rd is on there. I think they're trying to filter it into Paramount Plus. That's the idea.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, like the Thundermans, you know, gave me so much in my life. Like I truly am so grateful to Nickelodeon, all the people there. I had 0 like negative experiences amidst all the things happening in the Nickelodeon world right now. I personally had the best experience on the show, with all the people there, the people that I learned from. Everyone was super treating me with respect, and that's really all you can ask for, especially as a kid.
What was your day-to-day like there? Do you graduate at 18 and then you're done doing high school there?
When you're a kid actor, you can take the CHESP, which is like, I think you can take it anytime after you're like 15, and you can graduate out of high school. You can get your GED or whatever it is. I wanted to do that so I didn't have to like do school on set and stuff, but my parents were like, nah, like you're going the distance. And at the time I was like, damn it, you know. But in retrospect, like I am really glad that I did that and that they did that, because amidst like all of the not normal things that was happening in my life as a 16-year-old, that was a normal thing for me to like be in the regular years of school, 16, 17, 18, and I graduated when I was 18, you know. And we had like a little like ceremony on set with like, I had a cap and gown. Kira actually graduated before me, and she's 2 years younger than me. She's smart cookie. But
were you guys taking the classes at the same time?
We were in the same classroom. Yeah. We had the same studio teacher, and but yeah, she was just so ahead in school that she graduated before me. But anyway, like most sitcoms work the same way, actually, and that's why it's such an old sort of like respected process in the industry, and it is kind of a dying art. Like there's not a ton of sitcoms anymore. It's kind of evolved into single cam like structure. So the way multicam works is it's very much like a play. It's very much like live theater, which I grew up doing in Orlando. Like you know you have a live audience. You know, all of the takes are kind of done very long form. Like the cameras are very far away, and there's 4 of them, so they pick up a lot. So like the scene can kind of just roll. You know what I mean? Like when you're doing like single cam, like it's very like choppy. You know what I mean? Like we'll get part of it, and then we'll cut and we'll reset, whatever. And it's like not really like that on multicam. It's very much like a play. You know, like it's really cool.
And then you're doing it in front of a live studio audience for 40 episodes or 50 episodes?
Yeah, like half the amount. Like we would most multicams do it all the time, but we had a lot of special effects, which made our schedule a little different. It made things kind of run a little bit longer. So when we had time, like when the ADs would kind of plan out the week, we would
kind of figure if we were going to be able to have a live audience or not. So on Monday, we'd pretty much know if we were going to have a live shoot that Friday. And it was always like much more exciting when we did, you know, like we pulled for like less effects and more live shoots, you know, but that was a big part of what made the show was the superhero aspect. And that's another sort of point that is really interesting. And I think really helped to the success of the show, it being a superhero show, but it really also being a family show. You know, we feel like there were a lot of superhero shows and a lot of family shows, and we really like struck the balance between those and made it into one thing. And I think that really made the show successful.
Was it hard filming with so much special effects and CGI? Because if things are floating, you guys just have to pretend the eye line is there.
Yeah, but we got good at it. You know, we got it to where we didn't even think about it, you know. But yeah, the first season we were learning about all these things and the super speeds and the freeze breath and heat breath and the telekinesis and stuff.
What'd you first think when you saw your co-star Kira?
Well, Kira and I knew each other
in acting classes.
Yeah, we knew each other like far before the show, actually. And so
in terms of hanging out, or you guys just took the classes together?
Yeah, we didn't hang out, but we knew each other well. We were in acting class together. We went to the same school together, which was kind of like an actor school. Yeah, so we already had like a relationship when it came time to do like the chemistry reads. And, you know, our executive producers, they told me a couple times that what got me the role was that I wasn't afraid to like kind of get in Kira's face and like badger her, you know what I mean? And like be a dick, you know what I mean? Like a lot of the guys, you know, at age 15, 16, they didn't know Kira. They were a little afraid to like be like that. But I knew Kira, you know, and we already had that sort of brother-sister relationship. So I just laid into her like in the chemistry and really just went for it. And that's what ended up, you know, getting me the role eventually, yeah.
Were you aware of the show too? Like, did you know there's going to be special effects? It's going to be the multicam?
Yeah, I was aware of the show specifically because it was a pilot before I was on it. They did 2 versions of the show. Like, before me, there was an older brother character, and it just didn't test well with boys, so they made it twins. And so it was a recast. And so I knew all about the show. I knew when Kira left school to shoot the show. When I got the audition in my email, I was like, oh, like this is Kira's show. Like it must be for like a guest star or something like that, you know? And I look up and it's like Max Thunderman series regular. I'm like, huh, like that's interesting. Like maybe they're obviously shifting things around, you know? And so that really started the whole journey.
Did you get a feeling inside like, oh, this is kind of good?
Not really. I don't.
It just felt like every other.
I don't think I was so young that I couldn't really recognize those feelings as much. Nowadays, I feel like I can recognize those feelings, but no, at the time, like I thought I had a leg up for sure because I knew Kira. And I had been on the other end of that too. Like around that time when I was 16, I got down to the wire down the line for a few different projects, like Disney Nick projects. I did a pilot on Nick that didn't go before Thundermans as well. But I had also been on the other end. I was testing for Dog with a Blog, which is a Disney show. And Blake Michael, who's a great guy and who I know and love, he was there testing as well, and G. Hernelius had already had the role, and because Blake and G like knew each other, they had like a tight relationship. They were like out in the lobby like running lines real quick, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, cool. You guys get that joke right? Okay, cool. But it really ended up working in my favor because at the time I really wanted the Disney show, but it ended up getting the Thundermans on Nick, which I was so grateful for anyway. But it just goes to show that like the things that you want, the things that you plan, the things that you think might be best for you, they're not. And you will get the thing that you're supposed to get because Thundermans was the absolute best thing that I could have got.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What was life like for you as a Nickelodeon star in the day-to-day life? Like when you're walking out in public, if you're going to Disneyland, if you're at Universal Studios?
I mean, people recognize me, especially when I look like this. I don't have any facial hair and my hair is up, which I love. I love it, I remember watching Drake and Josh and Sweet Life and stuff like that, and sort of idolizing those guys. And so to know that, I'm that for a lot of little kids is really cool. I love kids. I love working with kids, hanging out with kids. I feel like I'm a big kid at heart. And, when you're a kid, like, you're so pure and you're not blinded by kind of the weight of, like, the darkness of, like, this world, the way it can be sometimes. And so I kind of feed off that, I love being around kids. And, being a Nick star, I mean, it was cool. We had our little community and we didn't go to school, so our social life was kind of centered around working, centered around going to like events and red carpets and stuff and having like birthday parties and things like that. And we just had our little circle, and it's cool to know that some of us are still out here, that I met when I was 13, 14, 15. If you were on a show, if you had friends that were on a show and you were on a show, that was kind of a cool connection because not a lot of people could share that sort of experience with you. And when you talk about, me and Kira's relationship, like, that is a really cool thing too, because it goes beyond even just being on a show. Like, if I was on the Thundermans, and talk about, Leo Howard, for example, who was on Kickin' It, and I did an episode of Kickin' It before I got Thundermans, and we just have that similar, you're kind of the star of a show, and you know the schedule and the way it goes. But with Kira, me and Kira talk about a lot that, there's really no one else in the world who really can understand each other like me and her do, because we really went through the exact same thing at the exact same time. And it means something to me and us. And so, it's really, really cool. It's like having a sister, really. Yeah.
Would you and Kira watch the show together when it aired?
Yeah, in the beginning, we'd watch the show when it came out. The very first episode, we had like a party at her house. And then as I got older, it's not that I didn't like to watch the show. I think when you're 17, 18, 19, like, you kind of want to be cool. And, like, maybe that was a little part of that, why I didn't, like, tune in all the time. And, I was 18, 19. I was, like, I was being crazy, Like, I was going to Coachella, and I was going to every festival I could. And I was always trying to hang out with my friends and have bonfires. And that was my life at that age. But it wasn't really about the show. Like, it was about the show as much as it was shooting the show and doing the work. But once I was done with the work, I was trying to experience life and figure out who I was and have really crazy fun times. I would travel and, I made a bunch of money when I was 18, 19, like more than an 18, 19-year-old should. And I wasted a ton of it, but I also had amazing experiences, like traveling and just being with my friends that I'll never forget.
At that point in your life, season 3, season 4, were you still living with your mom?
So I moved out in 2015. So I was 19.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I stayed home like an extra year. I remember turning 18 and thinking that I was going to go. And things were just good at home. And I didn't leave till I was 19. Yeah.
And then did you get your own apartment?
Yeah, I got a place just down the road from my parents. We had a little townhouse, and one of my roommates there is my roommate again today, like 10 years later. Like,
oh, wow.
Yeah. And I've only had this new place since like November. So, I love having friends stay in my life. It's really tough for me losing friends, and it happens. It does happen. It happens for everybody, right? But especially I feel like in LA, especially in this industry, people can have success, and I've probably even been victim to this as well. When you have a little bit of success and power and money, like, it makes you feel like you're on a different level, and it's really kind of fucks with your head. And fame is a beast. Fame is a big beast, because it's like this. Someone told me one time that you stay the same age you were when you got famous, because in a way, in a really weird, like, nuanced way, like you've achieved like this thing that you can't even really describe, that's like so taboo, like people know you that you don't know and think they know you, and it kind of, if you're not careful with it and you do things to sort of ground yourself, you just shoot up to the moon, you know, and you kind of leave people behind. And you know, it's a hard tough town to be in. There's a lot of rejection, people come and go, and so when you get that break, it's kind of like, oh, like I knew it all along, I'm amazing, you know. And you have to do things that sort of ground you. You have to keep the people close to you that knew you that knew you before everybody knew you.
Did you know that in that moment?
What?
Like season 1, season 2, season 3, like I have to.
No, you never know in the moment, even when you're an adult, you know, like, because it's like this thing that tricks you. Like that's the whole thing I'm trying to explain. It's like you never know in the moment, you know. You always feel validated, you know. But I think the people, you know, when you talk about actors, like, I don't know, like really big actors, like I feel like God or the universe or whatever your higher power is, like gives you what you need at the time that you're like able to handle it. Even if you're not able to handle it, maybe that's on purpose too, you know. I think that, at least for me, the way I live and the way I have to live and the way that I feel is productive for me is trusting. You know, it's really tough to trust, you know. It's really like there's stuff in my life that I'd really love to happen right now. I'm on the bubble for something, and there's another thing with music that like might go through, and it really all boils down to like what I said about wanting to be on that Disney show when I got the Nickelodeon show. It's like your plan is just your plan, and it might not be the best thing for you. And I was talking to my teacher, my acting teacher, about this recently, and about manifesting, and I was just telling her, I'm like, I'm really manifesting this job, like I really want this job. And she was like, that's fine, Jack, like I know, but like, you know, she's a Buddhist, and she talks a lot about her practice, and she said one of my things is that that we teach is that you should be manifesting not like one specific thing that you want, but like the thing that is going to be best for you. You know what I mean? In that way of like, what I want might not be what's best for me, you know. And you should, even though you want that thing, you should be aligning yourself with what's going to get you in the best place for your future. You know what I'm saying?
That's you saying, oh, I'm going to work on music when it needs to work on it, and work on acting when it needs to work on. Whatever comes my way is what I'm going to pursue.
Yeah. Well, I'm really talking about like when you're wanting things to happen in your career. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not going to be productive for you to dwell on whether or not you're going to get the job and whatever. All for me, I love auditioning. A lot of people don't like auditioning, and I've taught myself to love auditioning. I look at that like the job. You know what I mean? The process of that, you know, sending in the tape, you know, getting the call back and going in person, and then going in for another session, and like that process is like the job for me. And getting the job is just the icing on the cake, obviously. If you can look at it like that, then you're kind of going to be in a better place than yearning for the job. You know, when you go in a room and you just want the job so much, they can feel that. They can feel that desperation. They don't want that. They want someone to come in and look at the page and be like, all right, let's fucking do it. You know, like that's at least what I've heard from people that are on that end of the table. And It's really an interesting insight. You just can't put too much on it. You know, like this, it's play. It's art at the end of the day. It can't be serious. It has to be in a place of I know nothing, and I'm just here to play. I'm just here to have a good time.
Did you always have that mindset, even when you didn't have anything to your name?
No. I mean, this mindset is something that I've been, you know, marinating on for like a year, being in acting class, this new class that I'm in. A lot of my sort of ideas and concepts these days are coming from that school, Anthony Mindel's school, shout out. I've just been loving it, and it's really teaching me to unattach myself from the result, right? You know what they say about the process, and it's the journey, and it's like you hear that your whole life and you're like, yeah, whatever, it's the journey, yeah, but like I want that, you know, like I have this. Tyler the Creator was just, someone was just showing me a track that he put out, and there was like an interlude after he was rapping, and he was just talking about how, you know, it never stops, just like wanting this, wanting that, like I have this, I have all the cars, I have all the cribs, but like, yeah, I want that. And that's what I'm talking about with like the results. Like right now, I want this job. I really want this job right now. But I have to remind myself that like I've grown so much in this process of auditioning for this job, in this process of trying to get this job, that if I don't get this job, it's just going to be another job. And I have to be grateful for the experience that I had going in the room for producers, having a session with the director, working one-on-one. Like it made me a better artist and performer and a more fully realized person. And when you can look at things like that and take that experience into the next experience, that's just how you build and you compound, you know?
What actors' careers do you really look up to?
People that were child actors that really transitioned. You talk about Leo, talk about Zac Efron, Shia, because it's just a hard thing to be a kid and transition, you know, especially if you did something like a show, a lot of episodes of a show, you kind of get typecasted, and, you know, it's harder for me to get casted because I'm known as Max Thunderman, right? And when someone's considering you for their very serious project, they don't want the audience to be watching and recognize that that's Max Thunderman and take them out of their story, you know? And so I feel like I have to work extra hard to be proficient in my craft, so that, you know, even though people might not recognize me, the work's just going to be so good that they're not taken out of the story.
Right.
You know?
Do you think that stigma then for breaking out of kids' TV is real?
Oh, yeah. The stigma is definitely real, because you have a couple things going on. You have the perception of the world knowing you as that thing, and you also have 100 episodes or however much work you did of the experience of working that kid show. And that kid show is probably great, but it's not very deep. You know, like, it's great and it entertains kids and there's a place for it and it's beautiful, but I didn't have to be vulnerable on Thundermans. There were a couple scenes where we thought we were gonna die, and like, you know, maybe I had a little glossy eye or something like that. But like, no, like real. This is who I am. I'm showing. I'm literally being the truest form of myself, and I'm letting you see me, the parts that I don't want people to see. And so when you don't practice that, you can't just tap into it. You know, it's not something that you can just turn on if you're not working at that thing in class, or whether maybe you don't do class, but, you know, in some way you got to practice that. You got to figure out what your triggers are. You got to figure out, you know, what gets you in that headspace to peel yourself back like an onion, you know?
Totally.
Speaking of onions.
Did you start social media at the end of Thundermans?
No, I had social media like before.
Oh, okay. Because your first post on Instagram was like...
I think I deleted a lot.
Got it.
Yeah, I think I like started fresh a couple of times.
So then did you grow that 4 million followers throughout the whole course of the show?
Yeah, that was pretty much all the show. And this is a really interesting topic, and I'm really glad you brought it up, because a lot of people are like, you know, why don't you use your platform more and influence and whatever. Maybe not influence, but just like show what's in your life, what's going on. And like, to be totally honest, like, I'm so grateful for Thundermans, and yeah, I do have this following and it's amazing, and they get to see what I'm up to, and I get to promote whatever I want. But there's something that like comes with that. I'm an actor. I've never, we talked about this a little bit before we started the podcast, but like, I've never felt all that comfortable just being myself, like being a personality, like throwing my phone up, being like, what's up, guys, blah, blah, blah. And I just feel phony about it. Like, I feel ingenuine. It's not really something I want to be doing. And it doesn't mean I don't love my fans. Like, I fully, you know, understand that, like, I wouldn't be where I am without the people that supported the show. And I'm just, like, so grateful for that. But at the same time, I don't feel like that then obligates me to, like, share my personal life all the time. And I feel like when I do try to be that sort of like social media, following the trends kind of influencer guy, it just takes away from who I am and what I'm really trying to do, which is develop my craft. You know, even as advantageous as, you know, working that social media might be, maybe I can monetize it, whatever. I just don't feel like it's genuine. It's just not something that I want to do. Social media really isn't real. It's not real life. And as it also connects us in so many important ways, it disconnects us in other ways. You know, it's something that we need, but is it something that we need to spend hours and hours a day on? Like, probably not. I just, you know, try to stay grounded and stay focused on the things that I really want to do in life, because it's really easy to spread yourself too thin. That's something that I've experienced too growing up, and like, oh, I could do that and I could do that and let me try this. And it's like, well, if you have all of those things, you're probably gonna be a master of none, you know? So you gotta kind of focus in, and social media can be very distracting, but I am grateful that I have the following, and it is all from the show.
Have you ever done a sponsorship?
Yeah. In the earlier days of when I had like a sort of engagement and following, I did some things to like make a little extra money. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell me everything about Sharknado 3?
Oh, that's a good one. Sharknado 3 was just crazy. My girlfriend at the time was in it and got casted and went to Orlando to shoot it.
How many days was it?
So there's a crazy story with Sharknado. My girlfriend at the time was shooting it, and she was in Orlando, which is where I'm from. They were shooting at Universal Studios.
The whole movie?
The whole movie.
Oh, the theme park. That makes sense.
Yeah. I was home in LA, and I was like 18 at the time or something like that. And I call her, she calls me, and she's with the director, and they're, you know, having drinks or something like that with like the whole cast. And they were talking about who was going to play her boyfriend in the movie. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, we were having like a little joke about it, how I might be jealous or whatever. And, but I don't care. And, I've been doing this way too long. And the director was like, hi, Jack, you know, I'm Anthony Ferrante. Like, how you doing? I'm like, oh, nice to meet you. Like, how's the shoot going? Whatever. And he's like, yeah, I'm just talking to your girlfriend about, you know, who's going to play her boyfriend. And, you know, she was telling me about you, and she was showing me pictures and a little bit of your resume. And I'm getting the idea. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, would you want to, like, come out here tomorrow and be in the movie?
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Wow.
I swear, bro.
Hollywood, baby.
Dude, I mean, that specific set, and, you know, Anthony specifically, they're just kind of a in the moment kind of guy, kind of people. And you know, I was like, I forget what I said. I might be like, whoa, you know, I have to talk to my agent, you know. But it was pretty much immediate. You know, it seemed like, you know, a fine enough thing to do, and, you know, they had a pretty good budget, and I was out pretty much on the next plane to Orlando.
Did you go out that next day?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think so. Yeah.
Is that how fast?
They were gonna cast somebody like locally or something like that.
Right.
And you know, my Ryan, my girlfriend at the time, shout out her. She's such a sweetheart. She just like vouched for me, and she was like, my boyfriend's great, like whatever. And they just got me on the movie. Yeah, it was crazy.
And you had a scene with Chris Jericho.
Oh yeah, I still keep in touch with Chris. He was on the Thundermans like later on. No, it might have been before that he was on the Thundermans, so I kind of knew him.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Did you have a scene with him on Thundermans too?
I forget if it was before or after. It's like super hard now, but yeah. And ironically, Ryan was in that episode of the Thundermans too. She did a recurring on my show. So,
do you think that's why they put the three of you in the scene
for Sharknado?
Yeah.
I don't think it was related to Thundermans.
No.
Oh,
that's so cool.
But it was really Ian Ziering who I loved. From 90210. He was so cool. Honestly, like such a cool dude. I just saw a video of him like handling these dudes who were like assaulting him. I was in the gym and like it was like a headline like Ian Ziering like gets in a fight or something like that, and it's like I don't even know what it was about, but I texted him immediately. I was like, bro, you're such a G, like you're such a G for handling like that, you know. He's like 4 guys and he's just like a tank, like he's like a big guy, you know. But yeah, there were a lot of people in that movie that were really cool.
What's a set like a sci-fi original movie like compared to Nickelodeon or another traditional set?
This set on Sharknado was much more like ragtag, and that was like so interesting because we were shooting at Universal. It was like we had like this crazy budget, but it felt like we were like a skeleton crew indie movie. You know what I mean? It was a really cool experience. And I was still in like high school age at the time. So my friends in Orlando, where I'm from, like I literally grew up like 5 minutes from the park. And like all my friends like came to the park to like watch me shoot. Not all my friends, but like some friends came by, and it was really neat. It was really neat to like have that sort of experience of like, you know, not doing it big or whatever, but like, yeah, I'm like doing this thing, and I'm like, you know, I live out in LA, but I'm like back in my hometown, like at Universal. Like it was just like a crazy whirlwind, or Sharknado, if you will. Yeah, sorry, that was, I'll leave.
No, I love that. So for Thunderman's Return,
yeah,
the film came out about a month ago. Yeah. How was the reception?
The reception's been great. All of the feedback online has been awesome. We went to Brazil before it came out, and people were just so excited. The fans down there in Brazil are awesome. And you know, I think that, you know, fans would like to see more, and I think me and Kira would like that, you know. So we'll see if we get to kind of keep doing this.
With that film, you said the conversation started years before the release.
Yeah.
And then what happens? They get your okay, and then they start to write it?
Yeah, so I remember it was like 2021. I was at EDC, and like my agent called me and asked if, you know, they're talking about this, like, are you into it? And I'm like, yeah. And I was like,
get us on, I gotta go.
Like, fine, cool with me, you know. And I knew that it would be a while until things would actually be solidified. So they just wanted to get our temperature and
Did you text with Kira to see what?
Yeah.
She got the call too?
Yeah. They just wanted to see if we'd be into it before they started doing work on it. You know?
Right.
So yeah.
That's so cool.
It was awesome, man. Like I said in the beginning of this interview, like I just feel really lucky to you know, be a role model for kids and tell really compelling stories for, you know, that age of maybe like 6 to 12 I mean, kids are really developing and becoming who they're going to become, and seeing sort of values unfold in these stories that we did on these episodes. And it's really special, you know, and when kids come up to me, you know, when I'm in freaking Venice, Italy, and like, you know, where the show's really big in Italy for some reason, and
yeah, I saw your Italian dub translation.
Yeah. It's just one of the countries that's like it's really big in, and so, you know, when I'm, you know, not even in my country, and, you know, kids are just coming to me left and right, like you know what you're doing like has an impact, but when it happens like that real, you know, it really makes you like, wow, like all this time, like for like the past 10 years, like the things that I do on set, like it really goes beyond that day. You know, it really makes an impact, and it's something that will live on forever.
Is that in the back of your mind when you're doing decisions that you're a role model to so many kids?
Yeah, for sure. Even if I'm like drinking and like with my friends, like, you know, I don't like to, like, if like I know that kids are around, you know? And it's kind of like this weird thing because I don't want to be phony. I don't want to like pretend, but also I think it's important for kids, like we talked about earlier, not to want to grow up too fast. And, you know, if they see me, you know, drinking or like smoking a joint, like it's just going to set like a bad example. And like, even like with like things like swearing, like I feel like I can have a potty mouth like around my friends, but when I'm like kind of in public and whatever, like we were media trained like very young, me and Kira, to not do those things, not swear, and not talk about anything crass, and that kind of has stuck with me for a long time.
What is media training like nowadays?
Nowadays, I have no idea. You know, I'm sure it changes all the time. But it's just how to give an interview, you know, how to, you know, to politely like decline to comment if that comes up, how to protect yourself, you know, how to have the best interest of the company, you know, things like that.
Interesting. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting as a kid. It's different.
Yeah, because you hear about it, and I feel like some people are so good at it that when they get asked a hot question, they know how to respond without responding and change the subject entirely.
Yeah.
And just change the narrative.
Yeah, totally. And it's interesting because it's much harder when it's like a sort of high pressure situation. Like this is very low pressure, but like when you're on a talk show or even when you're giving an interview on a carpet or something, and it's very like, you know, it's what's the word? There's a lot of like sensory going on and like overload, you know, and it can be easy to be like overwhelmed in that moment and not know what to say and panic, you know, and that's kind of what the media training is for.
Going forward now, Thunderman's out for a month. It's out streaming on Paramount Plus. You're focusing on Kid Baron.
I'm focusing a little bit more on acting right now. We do have some singles that we're planning on putting out this summer, which we're excited about. It's such a long process, man. It's so hard to put music out, and I'm new to it, and so I'm still figuring out our process. And you know, sometimes I'll write songs in my room and take them to the band. Sometimes we'll write it together in the studio, and when you're in a band, especially more than being like just a solo artist, like everyone I want everyone to agree, and it is very collaborative, and I really can't do it without my two friends in the band. And but no, I mean, ever since the strike ended, like in, you know, ever since like January, February, I've been getting some more auditions, and so I'm really just trying to lock in and put as much work into it as I should and I need to, and I'm also going to class every Wednesday night, and my week kind of revolves around that, really. Like on Wednesdays, I really just block out my day. Like I don't do anything because my class is from like 6 to 10. Sometimes I can go to like 11 and I get tired. So like now, like I when I first started taking class, like I would schedule stuff for Wednesdays, and now like I just don't do anything, you know, and I kind of, you know, use that time to really focus, because it's because I see the progress being made, and like I've really dedicated my life to this craft, and when you see that something is working, you want to do that thing. You don't want to miss. Like a lot of my friends like just know I have it on Wednesday nights now, you know, and like they'll invite me out. I'm like, I have a class, and they're like, you know, you can't miss once, and I'm like, no, like that's like that's the point. Like I can't. Like I don't want to. Not that I can't. Like I could, you know, if it was like, you know, my, like for example, like my sister's wedding was coming up, and I literally booked my flights from Thursday to Tuesday, so I could still go to class. Because like I said, like when you see something's working and you see, you know, it kind of be real, like the proof of it, like you're kind of getting, you know, into rooms that you weren't really getting before, getting good feedback, and you know, you see it in the work in your own tapes, and you're like, I want to keep doing this, you know.
Do you know when you start filming the horror movie, Stay at Home?
We already filmed it.
Oh, you already filmed it?
Yeah, it's done.
Oh,
yeah.
When's the release?
Yeah, I don't know.
Does acting classes help you work on roles like that? Can you say, hey, I'm doing this character?
Yeah, my class specifically, we can work on whatever we want. There's like a database that we can pick from, like that the school like designed with like scenes and stuff. But we can also just bring in a scene that we like from a movie, or we can bring in something that we're working on or have an audition for. Just our partner has to be cool with it. Like you have to agree with your partner on what scene you do. Yeah, we get partnered up, and then it's up to like you and your partner to decide what you want to work on, which is like, I love that way of working, and you stick with that scene for a whole month.
Got it.
Yeah.
Jack, thank you so much for coming by.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
Guys, go check out Thundermans Returns. It's going to be on Paramount Plus. It's out now.
Thanks,
check
guys.
out Kid Baron.
Yeah.
Give him a link down below.
Yeah. Appreciate it, man.
Lightweights out. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Can I just grab a thumbnail of you?
Yeah, of course.